when people hear the word gentleman, they might think of meekness and manners being such that you never dare to cause offense. But it interested me that you say that if you are afraid to offend and anger, then you are not yet fully a man. Now, how is being willing to offend and anger compatible with being a man?
Well, good point. This is something that this is a point that is often made in criticism of this ideal, and it's made from both sides. In other words, men's rights activists sometimes reject the concept of the gentleman because they say it means being a doormat. It means letting people walk all over you. And some conservatives, ironically, who have tried to resurrect this ideal in the media, mainstream media, have kind of fulfilled that objection. They often have a very limited, selective idea of a gentleman, in which they do essentially define it as being a doormat and letting people walk all over you. This objection is extremely powerful. I argue that it's actually the essence of a very important part of manhood, including being a gentleman. As Oscar Wilde has supposedly said, a gentleman never offends unintentionally. Yes, again, it goes back to the concept of responsibility. A man, and it goes back to the concept of traditional chivalry, which is much more than just defending the honor of women. It's defending people against any kind of oppression or injustice. So if you are attacked maliciously, and I don't mean constructive criticism, but if you are attacked maliciously, or someone close to you is attacked maliciously, your family, your friends, your work associates. It's your duty as a man to defend them and to speak and not to tolerate that. It doesn't mean, I hasten to add, it doesn't mean that, again, that you launch a political ideology and claim to be the champion of all of the oppressed of the world, from the safety of a group. It means that you defend actual individuals, who have been wronged, and you do it oftentimes at the risk of unpopularity or at the risk of danger. And it's different to defend the welfare, the honor, if you like, of individuals than to speak in abstractions about all of humanity. But that's often what a man must do.
Yeah, and sometimes pay a high price for it. And you say that your first duty is to protect yourself, your family, and others close to you. And that idea of the protector role being the core of masculinity is what you see in anthropology as well, and from an evolutionary angle. But that is what is given up if you are loath to offend or to anger. So it's a really serious failing, and arguably it's actually led to further encroachments from these hostile ideologies into some of the main educational institutions than might otherwise have happened if people had been willing to defend the boundaries of those institutions more forthrightly.
Yes, you've touched upon something quite that I have addressed myself in a number of writings. Actually, we see a lot of diffidence today on the part of institutions that have previously been dominated by men. And you mentioned educational institutions, the universities especially, which are not just for education; they are also for intellectual leadership in the society, and they are oftentimes quite silent, the academics in them, even though they have an enormous amount of paid leisure. They oftentimes don't use that to record, to speak on record about the ills and the injustices of the day. The church, I think, is another institution which has failed terribly to defend itself, to defend its own turf, but also to defend its principles and to defend its members. And you could say the same, I think, about a number of institutions, including journalism, including the law, learned institutions, I might add, institutions of where people make their living through ideas and through writing and through words, and they have not used those words, to defend justice and truth. And I think this is a serious failing. This is why one of the reasons I argue in the book that really the failing, what we lack today on the part of men especially, is not physical courage. I see a lot of physical courage among men who risk their lives in places like Afghanistan and the Middle East. What I see lacking is moral courage. The military, by the way, is another institution I might have added there, which often shows, the members of which show enormous physical courage. But the leadership of the military is among the most feminized and abject institutions in our society today. It is highly, just cowardly, for lack of a better word. In moral cowardice, not physical cowardice.